Hey, what is up everyone? So with season 13 coming up real soon, one of the things that I really want to see them address with this new big season launch is fixing the UI of the game. So over the last 6 years, with all the different updates the game has had, we've seen many things added to just the different UI menus in the game, and it's basically become too much. And I feel like we need it to be a little bit cleaned up, a little bit more streamlined to make playing the game a lot more enjoyable. This goes all the way from the very beginning when you first start up the game, where it feels like it takes forever just to set sail now. So like right now when I go on, I'll have like a pop-up menu that pops up for the Pirate Emporium most of the time when I get on, and that's very annoying to see. And then you're on this Discover page, which is kind of pointless in my opinion, because I never check the What's New or the Pirate Emporium from this tab. I'll check the Pirate Emporium in-game, but never from here. And then when I press play, I have these different options for Adventure, The Legend of Monkey Island, and Maiden Voyage, but I think The Legend of Monkey Island being here is kind of pointless because it's literally part of Adventure, so you really don't need it to be in two places on here. And then the Maiden Voyage, I could see them having like a little small Maiden Voyage button on the bottom corner somewhere, and then you could access that, and then just skip this page. Or also make it so that the Maiden Voyage can be accessed while you're in Adventure. So then you could just sail through a portal and then end up in the Maiden Voyage. I think that would make a lot of sense too. But either way, I think this page is quite irrelevant. So then we go into Adventure, and now you're presented with another option. High seas or safer seas. So then this is another menu you have to pick through. Okay, now I choose high seas. Okay, well now I have charter a ship, my ships, sail for a guild. This just gets overly complicated, and then you have to click into here, click into what guild it is, choose the ship you want, sail the sloop, choose what type of crew, confirm and assemble, wait for it to load. I mean, there's so many different steps just to set sail. This could all be taken care of, one from some UI tweaks, but also just make it so that whatever the last option that you did, so I typically choose the same ship, same type of crew settings, same type of mode and everything, make it so that that is just a one-click button when I start up the game. And then if I want to change that, then I can go through those different menus and choose like a different ship or whatever the case may be. But right now, this is super frustrating just to start up the game, and honestly makes me tired to even try to play. But the UI problems aren't just limited to the main menu. When I go in here and I try to see like what's going on in this pause menu, it's a little bit overwhelming with all the stuff that's here, and that could really be streamlined. So now some stuff is fine, like the resources page, but like the equipment page I think is kind of unnecessary. I mean, it is kind of nice to see quickly like, everything that you have currently equipped, but in actuality, like, why would I ever need to see this when I can just go to the equipment chest and, you know, choose? It's not like I can change any of this stuff from here, so it's really just to show me what's there. I'll talk about the pirate log in a second, because I want to skip over and first take a look at the ship log, because this is kind of fine, but it is also kind of unnecessary just with, you know, how many different menus are we digging into, and it's really just a lot of stats and stuff. I don't know if they can really do much to fix this, but at least reducing the amount of tabs, so like even just being able to see all the tabs and not have to like click this button to be able to reveal everything here would be much better. If you got rid of the equipment tab, then you're just left with the resources, pirate log, ship log, and then pirate emporium, and that would be fine. But then bringing it back to the pirate log, this is where it gets a little bit weird. And there's some stuff that I do like about this. Being able to pin 3 different cards to the side here is actually really helpful to me, and I like that a lot. But then you have stuff like, if we go into the season page, there's a lot of stuff here, like the trials, the events. When we go into like, the season page, we have events here, which doesn't really make too much sense to me. Like, it is part of the season, but I don't really view the events as being season specific. I just view them as being events in the game. And then the trials, there's not much you can do here, but I don't really like having like the weekly, monthly, seasonal trials. I feel like it's just, I find just a lot of the UI in this whole pirate log as a lot of going into here, going into another thing, going into another thing, where I'd like it just to be a little bit more streamlined because I don't do any of the trials ever, other than being accidentally done just in the background, mainly because I just find it to be so annoying to try to go and look through everything that needs to be done on here, because there's so many things to like dig into. The actual season pass and stuff is fine in my opinion. I don't really see any issue with that. But then I think really when we get into this reputation tab, this is where the issues really start to arise for me. Now there are certain things in here that are fine. I think all the trading companies are fine in here. I think the guild stuff is fine, even though maybe the guilds could be a separate section. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I could maybe see the guild being part of the ship log, but I don't know. I think it's fine here as well. Tall Tales are also fine. However, I would like to see with the Tall Tales maybe grouping them by category. So have all the Monkey Island Tall Tales as like one thing together. Have all the Pirates of the Caribbean grouped together. They are technically together here, but really just having them as separate categories, kind of like how it looks when you go onto your quest table on your ship and you look at the Tall Tales. They have them grouped separately. So I think that might look a little bit better for this. But that would be one way to clean up the Tall Tales a bit. But the real problem here, and I've talked about this in a previous video before, is the Build Dread tab. The Build Dread tab was simple when it first came out. It was for the Build Dread adventures, so stuff like the Skeleton Thrones, Gunpowder Skeletons, the Sunken Curse. It made sense. They all were kind of different things, but they all fit under the banner of Build Dread Adventures. But then they kind of started pushing the line. So we had Forsaken Shores. That doesn't really fit with the Build Dread Adventures. You have event stuff like the Festival of the Dam. That doesn't make sense to be in here. And then we just started seeing, as updates started releasing for the game, stuff like Shrouded Spoils, The Fort of the Dam, Cruise of Rage, The Sunken Kingdom, Ashen Winds. All of these just got plopped into the Build Drats. And it doesn't make any sense because none of this really goes with the Build Drats as a whole. And we've seen this continue basically every season with the Chest of Fortune being added here, Sea Forts, Guilds of Gold, the Skull of Siren Song, and then most recently with the War Chest, and I'm sure with Season 12 we're going to get another thing in here that will also just make it too complex. And the question I always get a lot whenever I make videos on like cosmetics that you can get in the game is a lot of people ask me, how do I even know how to unlock that? And I tell them, okay, you go into the Builder tab and you look for the combination there, and they're just completely confused because it's very convoluted. It made sense when it first started out, but then it just became more and more of a mess. It's kind of like the people that like don't really organize their stuff at home, and then they basically say, hey, I got my own system, I know how this works. But then as you pile more and more on top of it, that system kind of breaks apart and it just becomes a complete mess. And that's kind of how I feel this was. I feel like it was fine when it first started out, but then just got worse and worse over time. Finally, the last thing I would really like to see in terms of UI, and this is more of like a full-on feature instead of just a UI design, but it comes down to presets. I really want to have the ability to set presets for either just clothing items or everything together. I would like to have basically where I can basically click a button and I have my Stone Isle Hopper Outlaw set. And then with that, it has like separate equipment that's tied to it, separate emotes that are tied to it, maybe even have the weapons automatically set if I set this preset. And I think that would be really great. You could do this as well with the ships, even though I feel like with the ships this is already kind of addressed with the captain ships and the guilds, because that kind of is like having a preset already. But we don't have anything to address for clothing and other areas of the game. One area I think Sea of Thieves is doing really well with the UI is with the new quest table added in Season 11. Now with this quest table, they basically have different tabs, and you could say this is still an issue of kind of drilling down to different things, but I think it's presented in a lot nicer of a way, and I think it makes it a little bit better for a playing experience. So I actually do like this Discover tab, even though I don't really find it too necessary all the time. The one thing I do really like about it is that it always shows the upcoming events and everything you need to know about it, and it shows you what the rewards look like for it and stuff. So honestly, the events tab that we talked about earlier that's inside the season area of the pirate log, that's not even really that necessary anymore, because you could put the event information just in the quest table here. I think that would make a lot of sense too, since you already have the event information here already. But then I do like how the voyages are laid out here with all the different trading companies, and then you can easily just start them immediately from here. And then, like I mentioned before, the tall tales, how they're separated into the different story arcs that you can go on. And then you can even have stuff that is pinned at the bottom. Now, is there ways to improve this UI? I'm sure there is. I could maybe see, instead of having, this discover page with, all these different things at the bottom here, you can maybe just have it so that these are like your pinned liked voyages instead. So then you have quick access to go on the things that you've done recently or that you do the most often, and then have this big banner image at the top be kind of that like headline information, like the Flags of Friendship event that's either coming up or have already happened, depending on when this video gets released. But that covers my thoughts on the UI in Sea of Thieves. I think with Season 11 in the quest table, we have a great start of how they can take all of these different things that have been added over the last 6 years and present it in a nice, easy to use format. And I want to see those changes to be continued across the board of all the different UI elements in the game. Let me know your thoughts on everything we talked about in this video. Is there any other areas in the game where the UI needs to be fixed up? Let me know all that in the comments below, but if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you left a like and subscribed. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.